spent about half of the 2020s hosting a podcast called Delayed Replay, recapping and reviewing movies that came out on time in my universe but got delayed in that other universe. And as such, the movies as they were in my universe came out differently. Some listeners not of this universe even think that this is an improvised comedy podcast. And hey, let them think what they want. It's entertaining either way, right? I'm Steven Shinder, and you're listening to Delayed Replay Season 6. Hashtag 6 seasons about movies. New episode every other Saturday. Unless I say otherwise. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we recap and review movies that got delayed in that other universe but came out on time in our universe. I'm your host, Steven Shinder, and joining me to talk about the 2025 The Naked Gun movie, it is Greg once again. How General Kenobi. That's what you want me to say, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
That's the wrap. All good.
Yeah.
By everyone.
Yeah, funny enough, Grievous was killed by a gun, and you could kind of argue that he was naked. You know, he wasn't wearing
And
his
Liam
cape.
Neeson was in the first Star Wars movie.
Yeah, the first Star Wars movie ever released back in 1999. Yeah.
Yeah. Episode 1. Yeah, nothing came up before that.
Yeah. But pretty weird that they made episodes 4, 5, and 6 super fast and just released them all at once in 2004 before episode 3 came out.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They were like straight to DVD. It was a
Don't
really
know how
weird
they de-aged
choice.
everyone.
Yeah. Oh man, when I was actually thinking about this earlier, do you think there are people who like began with the prequel trilogy and then that was Star Wars for them for so long, and then when they saw the original trilogy, they might have been pissed off that they killed off Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin?
Maybe. I grew up with all of them at the same time. So, um, yeah, maybe you just watched the prequels and just never saw the original trilogy. So that'd be
Right.
a bit of a weird way to go about it, I think.
Yeah. But anyway, so to start this off, what's been your history with this franchise, The Naked Gun? Did you ever watch the Police Squad TV show that spun out of, or was it pretty much just the movies?
Pretty much just the movies. Like I saw the movies and then I also saw Airplane, which is like kind of the same thing, same actors and stuff. So um yeah, I think I just came across they had like a 4K collection and I just binge watched them all and thought they're pretty funny.
Right. Police Squad, I think I'd seen the first episode of it at least twice, or maybe I'd seen clips from it somewhere else, because there were some gags that were pretty familiar in that. So I've seen the that series, like all 6 episodes, pretty short series, and they did like this running gag where during the end credits they pretend to do a freeze frame, but stuff they weren't actually frozen. So it's like in one of them, it ends with someone pouring coffee in someone's mug and they pretend it's a freeze frame, but the coffee is like still pouring and overflows from the cup. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, I do need to watch that show, even though they probably do borrow quite a lot. It does look quite funny.
Yeah, it's pretty much like the movies, but smaller budget, looks like a TV show. Um, in some instances, the humor of this franchise, I watched the movies recently in preparation to, talk about this one, but the humor kind of reminds me of Monty Python in some
Hmm.
aspects, but at the same time, I kind of felt like some of the humor in the movies might have hit better for me if I'd watched it when I was 12. Um, like some of the
It's
vulgar
like the
humor.
opposite.
So like some of the vulgar humor wasn't really hitting for me as much. So it's like these movies are okay.
Yeah, because the opposite of if you watch Monty Python. Like Monty Python as a kid, you're not going to get that much from it. But when you're an adult, you're going to understand it so much better.
Yeah, like I watched Holy Grail a lot as a kid, and I thought it was good. But then when I got older, I was like, oh, I understand these jokes now, and so it was funnier. But yeah, I guess with the Naked Gun, it was a different reaction. But you and I had like the same realization that like the everything reminds me of her like came from the first
Yeah, that
movie.
was creepy. That was scary. I didn't know it came from this franchise.
Yeah, with those like
It's
trade federation ship looking things.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So in this movie, because Leslie Nielsen passed away a while back, they got someone with a similar name, Liam Neeson, playing his character's son, uh, which is pretty weird because the third movie came out in 1994, and his son was born at the end of that. So it's like he's like 30, 31 or something, and they keep making these jokes throughout the movie about how he looks older than he actually is. Like,
I mean, I
which
guess it was just a way of them not to de-age him, or like to make a joke. They like made quite a lot of the jokes about de-aging.
yeah, like it kind of felt like they were poking fun at what Star Wars does with like de-aging characters. They kind of tell Liam Neeson, why don't you just use some like makeup to make yourself look younger? And he's like, what am I, Luke Skywalker?
I'm his friend's dad. No, I'm his dad's friend. Yeah, no, yeah.
There was no father. She carried him, she gave birth to him. Or oh wait, yeah, that was Anakin. Yeah, Anakin
Yeah,
is his dad, yeah.
you were just as confused as I was.
Yeah. Um
Someone's
yeah,
only
so,
seen the prequels.
yeah. And they do make references to like the older actors. Like they show like we also have Paul Walter Hauser playing Captain Ed Hawken Jr. And there's a scene where like they're looking at these photos of like the original actors, and they're like crying over them, and really poking fun at the whole thing of how Lego sequels really glorify the legacy characters like they're the best thing ever. But there's a moment where um OJ's character's son looks at the photo of his dad, and he's just like, nah.
Yeah, I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, and like the third movie came out like I think just a few months before the whole like um the legal stuff that was happening with him. So like I kind of wondered if they ever thought about making a fourth one, but then again the third one was called The Final Insult, so maybe they weren't thinking of making a fourth one and it wouldn't have mattered. But yeah, the titles of these movies are pretty crazy. The first one is called The Naked Gun, from the Files of Police Squad. So like way before you have all these other movies are saying like a Star Wars story, or from
On the
the
Book of Saw.
yeah, from the Book of Saw, like all that stuff. And they got Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, and the Naked Gun 33 and a third, The Final Insult. So
They should have called this one Naked Gun 444 and a quarter. Oh no, here we go again, or something.
yeah, I like Electric Boogaloo.
They would make that joke.
Yeah. um, but yeah, what did you think of this opening sequence that like involved like a flamethrower?
Yeah, because they just torched all the pictures because they were like, well, let's forget about all these people. Let's do our own movie. And then they just never mentioned them again.
Yeah. And honestly, that was kind of refreshing because with a lot of legacy sequels, like they always feel the need to be like, oh, those old movies are the best thing ever. And it's like, shut up. Like, try to stand on your own. Like, we get that it's the same universe, but just do your thing, you know? Like, weirdly, there's also like this flashback to the 1994 Morgan State Bears football team, like when they were playing. I don't know why they included this, but I guess it was to remind us that, oh, yeah, Liam Neeson's character was born like 1994 or something.
He was born during
So,
that game.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you see his mum on like camera, like when they do that fan zone thing where they zoom in, like they
Yeah.
zoomed in on the mother giving birth, and they had like baby welcome on the big screen, as like the baby just like pops out, and it's like there's a Lion King, because Lion King came out the same year.
Yeah. And it was a bit of a retcon but they acknowledge a retcon because right after that, they're like, oh, we have to bring her to the hospital. So that makes sense. And so that it fits with that scene in Naked Gun 3. Um, so yeah, that was basically like the introduction and like the 30 years later or whatever, seeing Liam
33
Neeson
and a
as an
third
adult.
years later.
Yeah. 33 and a third years later. Yeah, so it's like 2027, 28, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, after like the opening, you have the typical opening credits for these movies where you have the police siren on top of the car and it's running over some things or going through some places. I think this was like the longest one that they've done, wasn't it?
It was like a one shot of going through like an Independence Day parade, and they just like kept on like bumping into all the people in costumes, but there's like all like the big like air ones, so like they would just get them bouncing everywhere.
Yeah. And you'd also have the car going through like the pod race scene in the Phantom Menace. So, and like they've done this before with Star Wars, like they included the Death Star trench run in I think the third movie. And even before seeing these movies, I think my introduction to the Naked Gun or any joke from it was this Family Guy episode from like 20 years ago or something where Stewie is on his trike and he like runs over people, and at some point he goes through like the Battle of Hoth with the AT-ATs and whatnot. So they kind of continued that Star Wars tradition here. Um, so like a shot where it's like on a roller coaster and like going through the loops and stuff. And there's another one where it was here in this one where it was like going through the Rainbow Road from one of the Mario Kart games.
But like they're not wearing any like astronaut suits, so they're all just like joking.
Yeah. And there was also one where it was like going through one of the scenes in one of the Fast and Furious movies and like crashing into stuff. It was really weird, like all the stuff that they included in this opening.
Yeah, like they drove a car out the back of the airplane.
Yeah. It's like free falling and stuff.
They're like,
Um,
oh no, how did they land these?
yeah. And it even like drives into like the movie theater where people are watching this movie and it like crashes into the screen to get like inside the movie or something.
Yeah, it was like running at the same time, so it was like a so where you could see what you were watching on the screen.
Oh yeah, like that infinite sort of
Yeah,
thing, like where it's kind of like a painting within a painting within a painting.
yeah, it was really weird.
Yeah. um And it also like went through one of the Grand Theft Auto games. So it was just like running over people.
but they all became CGI.
Yeah. Yeah, they really want to like cram everything into this opening, like with the car running over everything.
It even
Um,
went into a Simpsons home. What's it called? Home
oh,
and Run.
Road Rage.
Is it Home and Run Home? Can't remember what
Y-
it's called.
you might be thinking of Hit and Run.
That's it.
Yeah,
And they just run over Bart.
yeah. He's like on a skateboard. Yeah,
His dad strangles him. Yeah, sounds about right.
yeah. The Family Guy gag I mentioned earlier also like showed the car like running over Homer like at the end of the Simpsons intro, and then Peter Griffin opens the doors. He's like, "Hey, Stewie, who the hell is that?"
They'd be great neighbors.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, did you ever watch the crossover where the Simpsons met the Family Guy?
I think I've ever seen Family Guy.
Well, the crossover was kind of weird because they didn't feel like they like I think because it was made by the Family Guy staff, the Simpsons characters didn't really feel like fully formed characters in the crossover. Um, they kind of just came off feeling like one dimensional. So it was really weird that crossover, but it did get I guess it was a little bit funny. Like they kept referencing all the similarities between the two shows, but yeah, I've definitely seen some better crossovers.
I have to bring it up. Did you see the Rick and Morty episode recently?
I've seen I think I've seen the clip that you're referencing, but I still need to catch up on some of the episodes.
Yeah, when you have James Gunn.
Yeah, and
James Gunn and Zack Snyder being absolute bros.
yeah,
You just ask for more protein.
yeah, just talking about Superman and like these little differences.
Oh, it's such a weird episode, that one.
Yeah, you haven't seen the new Superman movie yet, right?
No, not yet, no.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, but you probably already know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Superman movie, isn't it? Probably better than Superman Returns, didn't they?
Yeah, I liked it more than Returns. I mean, it's my favorite Superman live action Superman movie. This new one, because it feels more like a comic book, and there's like some other stuff I really like about it. But yeah, they're definitely. I would say Superman 4 is probably like the worst one.
Yeah, yeah. One of the worst things ever made.
Yeah,
Not even worst Superman movie, just worst movie of all time.
yeah, it's definitely down there. Yeah. Like when people say that some of the newer superhero movies are like the worst, I'm like, have you even seen Superman 4? You know?
Have you seen Jason X?
Yeah, because Jason X is a superhero. He's an X-Men.
Hey, it's allowed. Okay, okay, then the worst Justice League movie. There we go. The bad
Yeah.
Justice League, not the good one.
Yeah, the theatrical Justice League was pretty bad.
Yeah, the Joss Whedon cut.
Yeah. Anyway, so surprisingly at the end of this like siren sequence, Liam Neeson, I'm just gonna call him Liam Neeson, like and not even his character's name from here on out probably. He gets out of his car and uh he's told by like a state trooper like, hey, you're in trouble because of all those people you ran over and all these things you crashed into. And so this is why the police squad is under threat of being closed down. What'd you think of this strategy of having this previously inconsequential opening gag being the impetus for the plot, basically, here.
Well, it did go on for a bit too long, didn't it? Just a little bit. But I mean, it was like what, half an hour or something, and it's like a 90-minute movie.
Yes.
Um, that they probably should have. I mean, didn't mind that there wasn't much plot because, I mean, who watches Naked Gun for plot? It's just gags the whole time.
Yeah. So, yeah, the police squad is under threat of being closed down unless they solve this new case. Um, Otherwise, the building will be converted to a spirit Halloween. So they've already got like the banner and all the different costumes are being brought in. It's like, what'd you think of some of the costumes that they showed for the Halloween store?
Yeah, they had Jason X.
Yeah.
They had the Star Trek guy mask, but like the right way around.
Oh, Captain Kirk, the Michael
Yeah,
Myers mask.
yeah, but the right way around.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because it was like made out to be like a, even though it was supposed to be like a shop, it just kind of looked like a set. So it was like changing sets to like another movie, like to try and get them out the way.
Yeah, it kind of looked like they weren't even on the set of, like a made up police station set anymore. It looked like they were filming literally inside of a spirit Halloween. It was really weird.
Yeah, they
But
had like no computers. It was just all like they were just sitting there typing on like a costume.
yeah. But what'd you think of this new case that they have to solve?
Yeah, there was a wrestling murder. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, like this wrestler used a seatbelt as a weapon. So, to strangle his opponent. So pretty ironic given that seatbelts are supposed to be for safety.
He took safety very seriously.
Yeah, but because the wrestler wears a mask, they're like, "Oh, who is this person's real identity?" So you got that whole thing going on.
Yeah, because we
So
had Cody Rhodes in the cast. So he had a WWE wrestler who was like trying to play both roles of um being the masked villain, but also trying to help catch himself.
yeah, so I guess maybe the Spirit Halloween isn't so out of left field, given that it feels like masks are a huge theme of this movie. I mean, later on, there's that scene where Liam Neeson's trying to get some info and he's like disguised as like this little girl and it looks like it's an actual little girl until like she takes off her mask like Mission Impossible style and Liam
Yeah, and
Neeson
then the
like
Mission
stands
Impossible
up
music plays.
full height. Yeah. Yeah, I felt like this movie was kind of poking fun at Mission Impossible movies in some places because the Naked Gun movies that came out in the late 80s and 90s kind of felt like they were riffing off of like police action movies of the time,
Yeah,
playing off of the "oh, I'm retired" type thing and all of that. Whereas I feel like today that genre isn't as front and center, whereas you have like these other types of action movies like action spy movies. So it's like they kind of have to poke fun at those instead, I suppose.
yeah, because obviously to keep a current spoof, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, there's also some humor in this that kind of feels like a bit much for me, like when Liam Neeson eats the burrito or whatever, and then he has to use a toilet, and then he eats something again, and has to use a toilet again. Like I thought that gag was overdone. It went on for way too long, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, that toilet humor got a bit old.
But weirdly, they also poke fun at the Taken movies, which Liam Neeson was in. What'd you think of that approach of like referencing the Taken movies and making jokes about them?
Yeah, saying how he looked young, how he looked so much younger, even though the movies were like ages ago. What, like 20 years ago now, something? 10 years ago.
Yeah, like late 2000s, 2010s, something like that.
But like he's saying, obviously, how he's supposed to solve this crime, but he can't even look after his own child. Like his child in the movie is actually missing as well. Just been missing for like 10 years.
Yeah, like it's this weird quasi alternate universe thing where like they use stills from the Taken movies and but are like, yeah, I have this child that I never found, so I'm looking for them still. So it's like you got like these two parallel plots where he's trying to solve who the murderous wrestler is, but he also like gets these clues about where his kid is, and it's like he has this dilemma where he has to choose between the two things, and his buddy's like, well, who are you gonna save, your family or your squad? And if they make it
It's
sound like
family.
yeah, family. And then that leads to like a Fast and Furious-esque sequence where they're like crashing into a lot of stuff.
And they always are saying family into the camera.
Yeah. And you got like the, like the type of music you'd hear on the radio in those Fast and Furious movies, you know?
Yeah, because they had Busta Rhymes performing some music that they had on the radio.
Yeah. So he is in this movie, but he also contributed to the soundtrack. So that's again, that's kind of like the recent Smurfs movie where they had Rihanna voice Smurfette, but they also had her do the music. So yeah, I don't know if they're like making fun of that strategy too, or if it's just kind of there, but it was something, I guess.
Yeah, it was more like a vanity project in the Smurfs than it does in this movie.
So I forget, what is it that he goes to first? Does he go to where the wrestler clues are, or does he go to where the um does he try sorting out the stuff about his kid first? Like I kind of have the sequence of events jumbled in my head.
He went to try and solve the wrestling thing, but I think um, some clues came up that linked it back to his daughter.
And something that we kind of learn later is that, the taking of his daughter was, basically playing the long game so that the wrestler could try getting away with it at a point when he would want to try murdering someone in the ring. Um, which, I mean, hey, you can't spell murdering without ring. So yeah, it was like this weird convoluted plot, but he gets the clues about his daughter, and so he goes to this uh store that sells dice. They sell like board game dice and fuzzy dice for cars and stuff. Um and he fights the people there using the dice as weapons, but also like the people there try using their own swords and stuff to try dicing him up. They definitely dice up some random customers, which was really randomly violent. They just like turn into like bloody CGI blocks and stuff.
Yeah, it's a bit too bloody, but there's like the really fake, really shiny blood, so you could clearly tell it wasn't real. And then you had Liam Neeson who kept on saying, "Oh, let's go for a roll," and he keeps on just rolling the dice on the people, trying to trip them up.
Yeah. There's also a part where he rips the arm out of someone's socket like super easily, and it just uses that to hit someone. But
Stop hitting yourself.
yeah, like just all this really fake looking violence, but it's very on brand for the franchise, I guess. It just looks kind of weird because the filming style looks so modern and different compared to how it was in the older movies.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner. It's more like an action movie than a comedy movie.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if maybe the movie is too shiny looking, like everything looks too bright and stuff. Um, Whereas I don't know, the stuff in the older movies looked more real in a way
Yeah,
somehow.
it's just like artificial nowadays.
Yeah. But he manages to, find the this map that has like the location of where his daughter is. But as he tries getting there, he is pursued by the wrestler, who is still wearing a mask. And so that leads to this whole fight. And he gets like these, he thinks back to that football game that happened during his birth, which I don't know how he would have memories of this stuff he didn't like actually see up close. But he feels inspired to like do all these football tackling moves to try fighting the wrestler guy.
Yeah, because the wrestling moves and the football moves are like kind of similar. So like he tries to take him down, but like the wrestler guy like counters it and he just like flings him over his head and drops him on his head. And then they all like it's all in like a wrestling ring. So like they all jump on the ring and like splat onto each other. But it's like supposed to be it's like it's not real because they're trying to pretend it's a wrestling match and not an actual fight, which is a bit weird.
Yeah. And there is a moment where he's able to rip off the wrestler's mask. And so we see Cody Rhodes' face, but then he reveals that that face is also a mask and he takes it off. And it is Ed Helms, um, the guy from The Office and The Hangover. And he reveals basically like, yeah, this was supposed to be my movie. It was in development with me. I was supposed to be like Frank Drebin, no relation, and it was supposed to be funny. But they gave it to you just because your name is similar to Leslie Nielsen's name. And Liam Neeson kept on being like, what are you talking about? This isn't a movie. And so they were like acting like Ed Helms's character is insane and doesn't always talking about, when really like we know that he's in a movie and being meta and stuff.
When Neeson said it to the camera, like he's like, "What are you on about?" And then he turns back to camera and goes, "Fuck Paramount."
Yeah. And so like Ed Helms just like gives like the crazy eyes and crazy teeth and just tries like biting Liam Neeson. It's like, um yeah, it's just a really bonkers scene. And meanwhile, Liam Neeson's like, "Where's my daughter?" and trying to find out, like, um, because he knows the location but wants to like get there first. And yeah, just absolutely mad.
Yeah, because then you have Ted Rollin because Seth MacFarlane's involved.
Yeah,
Right.
Seth's a producer on this. Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, Ted comes in and he's like, "Oh, I'll help you," but he's like really drunk, and he's like just off the set from the TV show.
yeah,
It's like, "I just been filming my TV show, and I've come to help you save the day."
yeah. So Ted is able to, like, he puts his arm inside of Ed Helms's mouth, basically trying to suffocate him. And so yeah, Ed Helms passes out, and so it's basically like Liam Neeson and Ted teaming up for the remainder of the movie. And they like look at his wallet. Ted takes his wallet for the money, but Liam Neeson finds the codes like to get through the door of this building where his daughter is being held. Yeah, what'd you think of this sequence when they finally get to the daughter?
was kind of it basically had the Mission Impossible music playing as he like jumps through lasers and flamethrowers and all these traps and stuff.
Yeah, like they really went all out, like trying to put all these traps, which really ridiculous effects. Like you could tell it's like 3D animation and stuff.
Yeah, there's a shark and fell into water, and the shark jumped after them. But it's like those 3D effects where it looks really fake.
Yeah, like basically throwing it back to Jaws 3D.
Yeah, because
Um,
Liam Neeson turns to the camera and goes, "Do you remember that scene from Jaws 3D?"
yeah. Also, I forgot to mention throughout this movie, there are these like romance scenes with Pamela Anderson's character, Beth Davenport. But
Oh yeah, I
they're,
forgot he was in this movie.
yeah, they're like these scenes are like really cringe, which I guess is on brand with the old Naked Gun movies. But yeah, like they have like all these innuendos and all these like sexual gags, and it's like I'm kind of tired of these types of jokes. It's kind of whatever to me.
Yeah, they weren't that funny.
So when they finally get to his daughter, there's still like some like henchmen who that they have to fight through. And Ed Helms, I guess they didn't like put him in a jail cell for some reason, but he comes back and he's like puts on the wrestling mask again and tries fighting them. But then someone with a wearing a Michael Myers mask comes in and like knocks out Ed Helms and takes off the mask, and it's Buster Rhymes. And he's like, "Trick or treat, motherfucker."
Surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah, but yeah, like throwing it back to his line from Halloween Resurrection. Awful movie, but I guess it has that meme.
Yeah, that's a great one. I was like, didn't he say he's a chicken fried motherfucker? I think that's from that movie as well.
Yeah. So what'd you think of like this reunion with his daughter? Like did it feel believable that they're family, or was it like kind of eh?
Well, it was clearly made as a joke because it was CCH Pounder, which was it was a bit weird that they did that.
Yeah.
It's like, "Yeah, I'm your daughter."
Yeah. And I think Pounder and Neeson are like around the same age. So yeah, they were like basically making a joke out of the whole thing. And then at that moment, Ted is like, all right, so you're the dad, you're the daughter. Whatever happened to the mom? And they like look at each other. They're like, she died, as if like that they forgot to like put that in the script or something. So like really leaning on the fourth wall there.
Yeah, she's still stuck in a 1994 football game. She never left.
Yeah, the football players ran over her like
They
the
ran through
police
her.
car. All right, so now that the case is solved, the Spirit Halloween people are like, well, I guess we have to like take all this stuff out. And so um the police squad, they seem happy and feeling like things are gonna be all right. They see like a lot of people are outside and they're like, hey, they're cheering us on, let's go out and greet them. But then when they go out, it's just protesters, because like of course they still hate like the police squad and are like, yeah, like basically it's like that whole reality ensues type thing.
I saw a couple um banners saying "Bring back OJ," but like underneath in some writing says "orange juice."
Yeah, yeah, because a minor plot point like somewhere in the middle of the movie is like there's like an orange juice ban in the city, like some strange law that got passed.
Yeah, it's like OJ banned. It's like, cool.
Yeah. So then they're like, well, they might hate us now, but at least we love ourselves. Ha 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 ha. And then they do like a fake freeze frame, the
Yes.
credits go up, but they're like trying their hardest to stay still and they're just like not doing a good job of staying still and kind of like moving their arms and falling over. But yeah, so was there anything else you want to touch on before we go into final thoughts and scores out of 10?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything.
All right. So, what are your final thoughts, score out of 10, and unit of measurement for that score for the Naked Gun 2025?
It was a bit more action than I thought it was going to be. Like, 'cause obviously you got Liam Neeson as your main star. You're going to obviously have him do actiony things, but like he wasn't as funny as I thought he should be. Well, at least not as funny as Leslie Nielsen was.
Yeah, it was also a strange choice having him do his like Irish accent, but amped up to 11 instead of trying to sound American in this one.
Yeah, because he can do the American accent quite well. Um, yeah, but he was like super Irish, even though Leslie Nielsen isn't, so it's a bit weird, and because he was born in America and stuff. But oh well, didn't show him like growing up in Ireland in the weird times in the Troubles. That would have been a great backstory or something, but no. Yeah, I don't think it was a necessary sequel at all, really. Like it didn't really add much, even though it was trying to be its own thing. Like wasn't that necessary? But just to try to make money is all I felt it was trying to do. I'll give the film 5.5 almond juices.
Of course. Yeah, I think I'd give it the same score as well, like 5.5. Spirit Halloween store costumes. Like there were moments I thought were kind of funny, but at the same time, it's like, oh, of course they would make those jokes. Um, like I kind of felt like the trailer kind of spoiled like some of the funnier bits, but also some of the not really funny bits. And so it's like this weird thing where when you watch the movie, it's like, how is this a real movie? Um, and yeah, it feels like one of those weird spoof movies. And yeah, like I don't know. And it doesn't help that like I wasn't as huge a fan of the older movies to begin with. Like they were kind of like 5 to 6 range for me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'd say I think this one I thought was better than the second movie, but I'd put it below the first and third movies.
Hmm.
Although it seems like the general consensus is, I've noticed online there's a split. Like half of the people talking about this movie rank it above 2 and 3, but below one, and the other half puts it below just all the previous three. But yeah, it didn't really do much, didn't really break new ground. I don't think the jokes will be as funny on a second viewing. Not all of the jokes are funny. There are some funny things here and there, but those moments I don't think will hold up that well on a rewatch. It's kind of like one and done, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
All right, so I guess that'll do it. So thanks for joining me on this episode, Greg. I don't know if there's like a show or movie you want to recommend or something.
The Bring Her Back movie, which was directed by the guys who did Talk to Me,
Okay, I
the
don't think I've heard of
Raka
this
Raka
one.
guys. They were on YouTube and then now they've got like a reputation for very good horror movies.
Oh, interesting. I'm looking this up right now. Huh. Yeah, I'll have to check that out at some point. All right, so I guess I'll do it, and without further delay, have a good day. All right, so in a moment, you'll hear my other self talk briefly about Comic Con news, given that it's not finished. There's probably still more to come out. So just a couple of things that have been announced via Comic-Con, but you also hear him talk about how he felt about Happy Gilmore 2 without any spoilers, as well as the South Park Season 27 premiere, the Sermon on the Mount, which is kind of appropriate here given the paramount of it all and comedy, satire, what have you. But before that, you can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on the Taken movies. I don't know. You can also find me at the social media listed in the show notes, and also go to stevenshinder.com for info on my standalones and stepping stones novels. Would really appreciate readers and reviews for those. And you can also find me on Yes Shift, a podcast that I do with my dad. And we have interviewed Gordon Giltrap, a guitarist who's worked with Rick Wakeman and Oliver Wakeman, and even had Craig Marr on the show talking about XOX Xeno's new album, Luminous Voyage. So also check out Drum Talk TV Brilliance. Lots of fun stuff there, and Q&As with artists and such. And I might have mentioned this before, but check out the episode of How Star Wars Is It? About Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and hear what we thought of the movie and what rating we gave it in terms of how Star Wars it feels. So yeah, without further delay, here's my other self. Hey everyone. Let's see, regarding Comic-Con news, because, Comic-Con is not over yet, but the couple of things that really caught my eye are the Dragon Prince is getting a sequel series. Well, it's getting a developed, there's development of a sequel series called The Dragon King, but they're going to need to fund it via a Kickstarter campaign, Wonderstorm, and the campaign hasn't started yet from the looks of it. It's supposed to start soon. So we'll include a link to that in the show notes. And on the page, you can click the option to notify me, get notified whenever it starts. If you're at all interested in the show, I loved The Dragon Prince, all 7 seasons. It's such a great saga, and they left certain things open at the end, so I really want to see what happens in The Dragon King. And, if the series does not take off, I don't know what'll happen. If they'll maybe try to do a comic series, I don't know, but I really want to see it on the screen. So help in any way you can if it at all interests you. But also, Coyote vs. Acme is slated to be released in August 2026. So very excited that that's actually happening. And, I wish that Batgirl could have gotten a release as well. I saw this post earlier where I agree with, where someone was like, how's the Flash movie able to be released with how awful it is? Whereas why release that instead of Batgirl, but I digress. So yeah, very interesting stuff going on. So in terms of new movies, I have not seen Fantastic Four: The First Steps yet. Or is it The Fantastic Four: First Steps? I don't remember. I'm seeing it on Sunday, and I'm in the middle of watching The Phoenician Scheme over on Peacock. It's a Wes Anderson movie. So far, I'm midway through, and it hasn't really interested me as much as some other movies. I find that his catalog is kind of hit and miss for me, but I guess I'll see how I end up feeling about it. Happy Gilmore 2 came out on Netflix, and I was hoping it'd at least be a bit of fun, but I think I'd give it like a 5 out of 10. It's very meh. It's too reliant on jokes from the first movie and callbacks and trying to remind you of every single character that was in the first movie in some way. There's even one scene that has too many callbacks within it. And even, it very well could be intentional, poking fun at Lego sequels that do this sort of thing. But even if it was just still just so annoying. And there's also a choice made with a character early in the film in the opening montage that I think is a really cheap move to try to get the story going. So yeah, I was not impressed with this, and I don't really see myself rewatching this nearly as much as the first movie. And some of the comedy of the first movie is very well an acquired taste for some, but yeah, this just is not as funny. And I guess we sort of expected this, but it's still frustrating to see. Star Trek Strange New Worlds premiered recently with its third season, 3 episodes out so far. And they really hit the ground running, beginning with a heavy episode, continuing from the cliffhanger at the end of last season, and then having a more lighthearted episode that connects some dots within Star Trek lore and is just fun, and yeah, really showing the breadth and scope of what Star Trek can be. And yeah, the third episode was pretty good too. So really enjoying this show. Possibly my well, I don't know. I kind of ping pong around on what my favorite Star Trek or live action Star Trek show is, but it's really good. It's really great. It's on Paramount Plus. But speaking of that, South Park recently premiered with its 27th season. And the first episode of that was The Sermon on the Mount. And it was very critical of Paramount. Trey Parker and Matt Stone had been negotiating a deal with Paramount regarding the streaming. There's a whole thing with Paramount Plus and HBO Max, which, yeah, Max is now HBO Max again. You could read all the details about it online, but there's also the talk show stuff that's been going on, and all of that fueled some of the context for this new episode, which everyone, like absolutely everyone on my Threads feed was talking about. And yeah, it also satirizes the president, to put it lightly. And South Park is known for doing this for a long time, but what makes it feel like such a huge deal right now is, I think, because of how afraid lots of people seem to speak out about some of the stuff going on, which is why this stands out more than some of the other stuff they've satirized over the years. So take that as you will. And yeah, like the way that Trey and Matt were able to negotiate, well, I think it's like a $1.5 billion contract, and how they made this episode really quickly. The trailer for the season made it look like they were gonna talk about stuff that happened months ago, and I think they're still gonna do some of that, maybe retrofit it so that some things from recent events will be incorporated as well. But this episode, you could tell that they made it very recently, and it's really impressive that they were able to nail down the deal with Paramount and then put out this episode that's critical of Paramount and about politics, which and if like all the context, then you'll be impressed that this was able to come out at all as well. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what happens the rest of this season of South Park. They have a lot to work with, given current events. Anyway, that's it for this episode. We'll be back next time with a different topic. And I know I've talked about bringing back the YouTube channel, Steven Shinder Reviews, in video form. It's still on my radar, and I think I'm gonna add more to it sooner rather than later, especially with the new King of the Hill on the horizon. I want to get this video idea I've had out as soon as I can. But yeah, that's it for now, and without further delay, have a good day.